Aston Villa. Undoubtedly, there will be a sense of pride hovering around Birmingham this morning, but there will be a little bit of a regret because the bravery, the tactics, the execution, the brilliance from the manager, the brilliance from the players, you should have won that game last night. PSG were on the ropes. Now, I've got no notes to talk about, but we are going to be looking at screenshots because I want to dive straight into this because it was excellent stuff from Aston Villa. From maybe the 30th minute and beyond, Villa will give PSG a run for their money. Now, I want to look at the average positioning from both games, from the first game, from the second game, and you can clearly see a difference in tactics, a difference in courage, a difference in bravery, and this was really why Aston Villa had PSG on the ropes in that second game. If you look at the first game, that deep block from Aston Villa, going to PSG, they nearly snuck away with a 2-1 defeat, which, taking them back to Villa Park, they probably would have turned around. But if you look at that first game in contrast to that second game, the bravery, the execution, the courage, the ballsiness of Unai Emery and his players was phenomenal. And I want to look at a few sequences before we dive into the overall tactics. But you can clearly see in these images, the man-to-man pressing, the aggressive press, the high press from Aston Villa was simply sensational yesterday. In PSG's own box, you look at Onana, look at Tielemans, look at Lucas Digne, look at John McGinn, all pressing man-to-man, not allowing PSG any sort of time on the ball, any space on the ball, allow them to dictate play. It was excellent stuff from Aston Villa. But this reward, comes with a big risk, and the big risk allowing space in behind. Now, I thought PSG were absolutely exceptional for their 2 goals on how they exploited Aston Villa. But the resilience and the determination and the bravery from Aston Villa to get back in this game was sensational. Unai Emery proved last night that he is the manager of the big moments. He proved that he's an elite manager. But not only that, these Aston Villa players, proved that they're good enough to compete at the pinnacle of football. Now, I made a review after the first game and I said, the difference in the second game is Aston Villa need to be more brave. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Again, in this different sequence, PSG moved the ball into midfield and you can see aggressive press. In the first team, we're seeing Aston Villa almost show PSG too much respect, sitting off them, allowing them to dictate play, allowing them to get comfortable on the ball and really just move the ball around Aston Villa. Whereas last night was different. Aston Villa were a different kind of beast last night. Not even out of possession, because out of possession they were brilliant. They took the risk, but they got the reward. Although it wasn't quite enough to get over the line, I wouldn't be surprised 10 more minutes more in that game if Aston Villa scored again, because they were simply sensational on and off the ball. Now, this highlights everything good about Aston Villa on the ball. You've got Marcus Rashford using the width, curving his runs, but you've got Aston Villa being brave in possession. Look at McGinn trying to get forward. You've got Rodgers trying to get forward. You've got Tielemans breaking forward, being aggressive on the ball, being direct, trying to take the game to PSG. And this was everything great about Aston Villa. Now, before we break down the goals and look at them individually, I just want to point out how good Marcus Rashford was in that second half. He was simply unbelievable. But there's 2 players that I want to highlight in this Aston Villa team, and that is Konsa and Pau Torres, because they were simply sensational last night. Because this element of risk, when you're being so brave, when you're playing with a high line, trying to press aggressively, that leaves your defenders isolated. It leaves them one-on-one situations, and I thought the composure, the maturity, the positional awareness of the 2 of them was simply sensational. Now, if we look at the opening goal from PSG, I actually don't think Martinez is the guy at fault here. I think it's Matty Cash. Matty's Cash positioning is all wrong. Yes, Martinez could have done better, but it shouldn't even have got to that stage, because the one thing that Bradley Barcola offers over Desiree Doué is directness. He's so direct. So Matty Cash needs to be alert to that. And he's the wrong side of Bradley Barcola here. And if we open this picture up a bit more, this tells 1,000 stories. Konsa's already alert to where the space is. He's telling Matty Cash to get back into position. Now, Matty Cash isn't quick enough or switched on enough to get back into his position, and that almost allows Bradley Barcola to receive the ball in space. Konsa could have shuffled across, but that would have left Pau Torres one-on-one, so he's aware of the danger on the other side as well, but he's clearly telling Matty Cash to get back into his position. His awareness, his acknowledgement of the space, he's worried. He's worried, and this is where PSG were brilliant in that first half an hour of the game, where they really exploited Aston Villa's press, where they broke out the press and they were able to create opportunities and then take their opportunities, because Bradley Barcola gets in on goal. As you can see, we'll move it back here. That ball's just about to be played into Bradley Barcola. He gets into this situation, plays the ball across from goal. Martinez will know he probably could have done better. Well, he should have done better, but then PSG put it into an empty net. But their two wing backs being brave, PSG, they were so brave as well off the ball. Hakimi getting their first goal, Nuno Mendes getting their second goal. This is the element of risk when you look for the reward. But I must reiterate what a manager Unai Emery is. To go toe-to-toe with this PSG side is incredibly brave. And that's what he did last night. He acknowledged the weakness in this PSG side. It was compact in the midfield, being aggressive with your press, trying overturn the ball early. But not only that, he understands that will leave space in behind. And the danger of this PSG team, you've got Bradley Barcola, you've got Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, who are all lightning quick, who pose a significant threat in transition. So the bravery of Aston Villa allowed them to take the game to PSG, but it also created their moments where they were vulnerable, and that's where they conceded. But the resilience, the transitional threat, the bravery, the press from Aston Villa was simply sensational. Unai Emery, the coach that he is, everybody questioned why did he pick Marcus Rashford over Ollie Watkins, and the movement of Marcus Rashford plays a part in every single goal of Aston Villa. He was simply sensational on and off the ball, but I thought Unai Emery, his starting profiles that he selected was on point. McGinn, Tielemans, Morgan Rogers, having Unana that provides a physicality in the middle of the park. It was exceptional stuff from Aston Villa. Honestly, I know you conceded 2 goals, but I love teams that are brave, and that's exactly what Aston Villa were. Now, again, the threat that PSG pose, if we go back to this is Matty Cash being out of possession. This, again, the threat, the risk that comes with that reward shows in this picture as well, because Ousmane Dembele was able to get behind Lucas Digne, and then it's 4 against 2. And Aston Villa, this is the problem you have when you go to a man-to-man press. But that man-to-man press is what brought Aston Villa back in the game. So it wasn't the wrong thing to do. It was absolutely the right thing to do, because Aston Villa had to go for this, and they were so close and had PSG against the ropes that it was just phenomenal cinematic viewing. But this is the problem, because when you go to a man-to-man press, leave space in behind, it allows the other team to isolate you in one-on-one situations, and if they break quickly, this is what happens. And then the touch and the finish from Nuno Mendes is just simply sensational. His 2 goals from the first leg and the second leg, he finished both goals like a prime centre forward, and that's a threat of these PSG players. They're all technically outstanding. So PSG go 2-0 up on the night. That's 4-1 in aggregate, and a lot of teams would drop their heads, just think, right, the game's over, we'll just sit back, try not get embarrassed. But not Aston Villa. They broke in their numbers, and this was the sequence to the opening goal from Tielemans. And again, beautiful stuff from all players. It was being brave in possession, it was being direct, trying to get at PSG, and then the ball gets played in, and a little 1-2 between Rashford, McGinn, plays it into Tielemans, and then they get an element of luck with the deflection, but you earn your own luck in football, and that's from being in the right positions and doing the right things. And that's exactly what Aston Villa done yesterday. Beautiful stuff from Aston Villa to get back in the game. Now, this was the opening to Aston Villa's second goal, and this just highlights the ability and the execution and the brilliance when you play out from the back. Pau Torres in possession. Now, I want you to keep an eye on Hakimi and Lucas Digne. Now, Hakimi, because of John McGinn's positioning and Lucas Digne's positioning, he's caught in 2 minds, because Pau Torres has got 2 options. He can play the ball out wide to Lucas Digne, or he can play it inside to John McGinn. Now, Hakimi goes towards Lucas Digne, and now the awareness of John McGinn to recognise that so he can receive the ball on the half turn is phenomenal. So he must have had a quick look at Hakimi. Hakimi goes towards Lucas Digne. This allows John McGinn to receive the ball on the half turn, and then Aston Villa break. And this is the brilliance of Marcus Rashford. Look at his positioning here. He's between the 2 two centre-backs. Now, his movement's key in here because it puts PSG's centre-backs in an uncomfortable position. So as John McGinn breaks forward, Rashford curves his run to the outside of the centre-back. Now, the centre-backs at PSG here don't want to commit towards John McGinn, because look at the bravery of Aston Villa's players. And this is what I'm talking about, the bravery of just allowing your players to drive forward, get forward, not really worry about what's behind them, playing with an expression. Now, because if Marquinhos steps towards John McGinn, he's got a free pass into Marcus Rashford. If Pacho steps in towards McGinn, he's got a free pass into Yuri Tielemans, who's breaking forward. So their option is just to keep on dropping off. And then because Marcus Rashford's running in behind, they're worried about that pass. So they automatically, instinctively keep on dropping off, which opens up the space for John McGinn. It might have got a slight deflection, but again, I always say you earn your own luck in football, and it was a brilliant sequence from Aston Villa, how they just broke through PSG so comfortably, so easily, and this put them back in the game in reality. And then from this moment, PSG will wobble. If this was a boxing match, they were literally on their knees getting counted out, because Aston Villa literally took the game to PSG. They bullied PSG on and off the ball, and I thought it was simply sensational stuff from Aston Villa. Now, I always speak about the importance of movement kills in football, movement and pace. Rashford's got two of them. He's got movement and he's got pace. Now, this is another sequence, but what Aston Villa do this time is miss out the middleman. You can see McGinn comes in short, so that brings Marquinhos with him, because he's probably thought he's already received that ball, received it on the half turn and ran 30 yards up the pitch and scored. So I'm not going to let that happen again. So because McGinn comes in short to receive the ball, that allows Marcus Rashford to isolate his man in a one-on-one situation, and he curves his run beautifully. Marquinhos is in no man's land. He's went with McGinn. He's been baited into that press. And this is exactly how you play out from the back. But it's given the players on the pitch to find a solution to the problem. And this is what I like about Unai Emery. He's not so positional. Yes, he's got his philosophy, but he trusts these players. And these players are playing at the highest level of football, because yes, you can go in short to John McGinn that you've just had success from, but you acknowledge that Marquinhos is tight on McGinn. So this time, instead of going short into McGinn, Aston Villa goes long into Rashford. And this is where Rashford receives a ball out wide, cuts inside, and then makes Donnarumma pull off a sensational save, tipping it over the ball, which I believe was the best save in the night. But this was the signs. This was the worrying signs that Marcus Rashford was starting to get into the game from his movement. He was really troubling and becoming an unstoppable force. And that's exactly what we're seeing for Aston Villa's third goal, because the brilliance, the magic, the quick footwork from Marcus Rashford, just a dilly in between two players. And then he has the composure, has the awareness to find Konza. And Konza finishes like a pro. Play him centre forward, because that finish, that composure, accuracy in his finish was simply sublime. And then PSG just really struggled to get a foothold of this game. And again, Marcus Rashford peeling out wide. I spoke about the importance of his movement, using the width, because PSG are very aggressive with their fullbacks. Nuno Mendes pushes on aggressively, Hakimi pushes on aggressively, and they can afford to do this in Liga. But when you come up against quality players with good movement, good awareness, like Marcus Rashford, they do exploit those weaknesses. And we've seen this time and time again from Marcus Rashford. Getting out wide, he puts the ball into a dangerous area, and then Donnarumma again pulls off a sensational save from Tielemans' header. And this really should have been Aston Villa 4, PSG 2 on the night. And this sort of thing was happening time and time again. Marco Asensio breaking through, being brave, trying to get in behind PSG, something that Aston Villa weren't doing in the first game. And the one time they did it in the first game, when you go to think about Aston Villa's goal in that first game when Morgan Rogers scored, that's because John McGinn pressed aggressively in the middle of the pitch. And that showed the signs that if you get in the face of PSG, they don't like it. PSG are not a team that's good in transitional games, and that's what Aston Villa did last night. They made the game into a transitional game. Vitinha, one of the best most beautiful players in possession. And the trouble about Vitinha, he hasn't got the profile to play as a lone six. He can play it when he's playing in a team that dominate possession. So when PSG are playing in Liga, things are all beautiful and get on the ball and dictate play. Vitinha is one of the best players to watch. His ability to occupy space, to just dip in and out of space, his awareness, his scanning, his decision making on the ball is exceptional. But once that game gets transitioned into a transitional game, that's when you exploit Vitinha's weakness, because he hasn't got the athleticism or the physical profile to deal with a transitional game. So Aston Villa's tactics, bravery on and off the ball, was simply sensational yesterday, and they were so unlucky to get knocked out, in my opinion. They had an XG of 2.05, they created 6 big chances. They had 17 shots to PSG's 14s. They were simply sensational on the night, and I can't commend them enough, because a lot of teams, even the media play a part in this, because sometimes when the media big up a team so much, like they have done with PSG, gets into players' minds, and they automatically think they're better than us. We better sit back. But not Aston Villa, sorry. They took the game to PSG, and it was exceptional stuff from Unai Emery. The reward nearly outweighed the risk. That's the beauty of sport. Now, Aston Villa fans have to be proud of their team, because this Champions League journey, what they've been on, considering this is all new to them, they're not accustomed to playing in this type of physical and quality of competition year in, year out. And what they've done this season is very, very impressive. Now, if you continue to play like that, with that sort of courage, that bravery, but that technical quality, there's absolutely no reason why you can't finish in those top 5 places, but also win the FA Cup. And what a season that would be for Aston Villa. But on the weekend, you play Newcastle. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to do a review of the game, because I'm actually doing some scouting work in Amsterdam for the full weekend. I'm going from Friday to Tuesday for the Future Cup. It's an under-17s tournament, so I won't be able to watch the game live, and I won't be able to do a review. But Aston Villa, good luck. Apart from when you play Newcastle, what a season. I want to hear your thoughts on the game in the below. Drop me a comment. Were you impressed with your side, or do you think you should have been a bit more disciplined and what's the word I'm looking for? Cautious? Let me know in the comments below. But if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and until next time, up the Villa.